In July, this programme revealed a fourfold rise in the number of rape or sexual assault claims being made at Britain's universities. And it emerged that there were 165 reports over 3 years at Cambridge alone. We spoke to one woman anonymously who said when she made her claim of rape to the university, it failed to support her.
I think he said that there was a page in the Freshers' Guide that had some numbers on and that I should look at that. That was it. I ended up with post-traumatic stress disorder. I couldn't get out of bed. And I just felt totally unsafe.
The University of Cambridge told us that since that case, they've launched a Breaking the Silence initiative and an anonymous reporting tool to encourage students to come forward. That accounted for the large increase in reports, they said.
Since 2016, we now have made provision for sexual misconduct within our disciplinary processes. I am confident that we are in a position to fully support all our students.
Channel 4 News has now spoken to 3 women who have made complaints since Cambridge launched its new initiative. They still feel the university isn't doing enough. Well, earlier I spoke to one of those women, a former student called Danny Bradford. She lodged a formal complaint after being harassed. She says she was bombarded with messages, sometimes up to 50 a day, many laced with sexual innuendo. Although other women have made harassment and sexual assault allegations, hers is the only one the university has upheld since it launched its new campaign 3 years ago. She says she, like other women, have felt under pressure to drop their complaints, and the university's disciplinary process itself left her feeling extremely vulnerable. She's now suing the University of Cambridge under the Equality Act, saying she's the victim of discrimination. I began by asking about the toll the ordeal took.
I started having really bad panic attacks. I couldn't walk on the street that the building where my lectures was on without having a panic attack. I wasn't attending my lectures or my practical sessions. It got to the point where I said, I'm going to have to drop out because I can't continue with my degree. And at that point, one of my friends said to me, well, if you're going to drop out anyway, then you might as well try and take a formal complaint forwards.
And what were you told about the repercussions of making this complaint?
I was told that I should think about it very carefully, making a complaint, because it could affect my place in my department and any kind of future career that I wanted to go to. And I'd say, no, I'm absolutely sure. And they'd say, just take a week to think about it. Like, you really don't have to.
So the man you accused was found guilty of harassment. You went ahead with the complaint. Was it a comfort to you that you had secured that verdict?
The only sanctions that were put in place were an apology letter and no contact.
Why did you feel that fell short?
If a procedure is re-traumatising, if it is discriminatory, if the result of the procedure does not make anyone more safe than they were before, then it being upheld isn't enough. There was no sanctions put in place to protect this from happening to other people. And I felt that the fact that they hadn't even put in a training course, there was no aspect of restorative justice either. Even after the complaint was upheld, I was in order to enforce the no contact rule, they banned me from certain buildings. So I had to say to my lecturers, I can't come to your supervision because I'm banned from that building, but I wasn't allowed to explain why because of the confidentiality.
And you were told by the university specifically not to speak about the case. What was the reason given?
It was made very explicit to me that if I told anyone, and that included friends and family, about what had happened, about the fact I was taking a complaint, and then even after, about the outcome of the complaint, that I was at risk of being charged with harassment myself.
Where did that warning come from, that?
When I asked, they said it came from the top, but I tried to get clarification in an email on what that meant, and they wouldn't provide it.
But what are they trying to protect here? What's at stake for Cambridge?
I think their image. I think that they care more about PR and their image and what the media might say than the safety of their students.
I mean, Cambridge, I'm sure, if they were here, would say that the complaints process worked. He had to make an apology. They would say that proves justice was done. What How do you respond to that?
I think that if the sanctions are not proportional to the events, and if nothing's done to protect the people involved and the wider university community, then that process isn't working.
How worried are you about speaking out now?
I don't know if it will mean that I'll be charged with harassment, but I'd made a decision that I was not comfortable leaving the university and carrying on with my life when I knew that people currently at the university were still potentially in danger.
You've had this hanging over you. Against that backdrop, you've completed your degree. How can you view the future now?
I'm hoping that the case that I'm taking against the university will see some concrete changes, and that I will be able to come away from this with some sense of closure. But I think it will be a long time before I will ever associate university with much more than the time that I was harassed and then re-victimised.
Danny Bradford, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, we put these claims to the University of Cambridge. In a response, a spokesperson told us the University of Cambridge takes the personal safety of its students very seriously, adding it encourages students to be realistic about the reporting processes and their possible outcomes. It said the process is designed to investigate whether university rules have been breached and, if so, to impose proportionate sanctions, and that students have every right to discuss their experience of the disciplinary process. If they disclose the identity of the person against whom he or she is complaining, the complainant may risk laying themselves open to a counter-complaint of harassment.